Joining us from the new Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Aging and Disabilities are Janelle Lewis-Tafari, Permanent Secretary, Sahira Joseph, Acting Director of Youth, Marecia Browne, Coordinator of Disability Services, Andria Caines, Supervisor of Homecare Services, and Lyncia Dore, Coordinator of Aging. Good morning, ladies. Good morning. Oh, I like that. Welcome to Good Morning SKN. Alrighty, ladies. So my first question, anyone can answer. What was the decision to launch this new ministry?
Basically, the decision to launch a new ministry came from a need for there to be more focus on vulnerable populations in our society, namely young persons, older persons, and persons with disabilities. It was felt that although there was some programming and initiatives geared towards them, there needed to be more focus, a more targeted approach to help them to become more empowered, for their voices to be heard, for them to get more respect, for them to be included more in all aspects of our society.
All right, so that was the decision, and you stated a lot of information that I think is really important. My question to you now, and anyone can answer, is how do you operationalize what the PS just said? Sahira.
Well, the youth department, it's a new thing we're trying out. Let me begin by saying that, yes, my PS said a lot, but what we recognize as our single bodies, we needed a larger voice, right? We have always had programming, but in going through our calendar, we recognize that we would have left out key, because a person with disabilities is still a youth, a person with disability is still aging. So we are restructuring to make the accommodation across our programming. It's not that all of it is new, but we are merging. We are making an effort, an active effort now to merge everything. So I hope that answered. We're paying attention to each other.
Okay, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. So what are some of the things that are in place to ensure that the merger is smooth?
Okay, if speaking for youth, for example, with regards to our calendar, let me see. March, we have a lot of internal things going on, but come April, let's take the first activity, our kite flying, for example. Not typically, it would just be us advertising as per norm, telling them, okay, look out, we're going to be on this field, this time, show up and show out. But now, we are taking an active approach where even down to the restrooms, we have to make a conscious effort to include the disabled, make sure that we have those kind of setups on the field. And when it comes to aging, we're making sure that we have a pool of young people that are able to work alongside them for the different activities that are gonna be there on the field. So, and again, that is just an example of us trying to ensure that we work together and not forget anybody. There are plethora of other activities, of course, but we don't have our money now, do we? Right? So we're putting in the work.
And some persons may wonder why we joined youth with older persons and those with disabilities. And it's because we're trying to engender from very early that awareness, that sensitization, that there are other people you have to be mindful of.
Yes.
For them to get more familiar with working with persons who may be a little different from them, for them to understand that at the very core, we're basically all the same. We all have the same aspirations. We should all have the same opportunities. We all need to work together to help each other.
Well, I'm getting the sense that this requires quite a bit of education, because you're not only changing the way that you do things individually, you're coming together as a collective. In relation to home care services, Ms. Caines, what can you tell us about what's being done in that regard?
The home care service, where there are different home care officers throughout the island in various communities to assist the elderly in almost all needs. bathing, combing their hair, cutting nails, assist them to the doctor, the supermarket, tidy up their homes. Anywhere possible, we can assist them, even to take a walk, to have a breath of fresh air. We're there to assist them with that.
In your engagement with those older persons, do you sense that your work is empowering them in any way? Do they relish the interaction with you?
Why they look forward in seeing the home care officer, especially if they know exactly what time they're coming, they are looking forward to see that home care officer come in to assist them, whatever means. Yeah. So our jobs out there is very, very important.
Well, I know that your job is very important. I can see that. I can even feel it. I want to know what the PS's feedback is to what you just said.
Actually, once the new ministry was announced, we got a lot of feedback from older persons. They were very excited and they kept asking, when is it going to be formed? When are activities going to be held? And what is going to happen? So we really felt that enthusiasm from the older persons. And we're just hoping and praying that we can meet their expectations. So they do look forward. They look forward to having activities, being able to socialize with each other, see all the persons they haven't seen probably for a while, go to places that they may not have the chance to go to. And that those opportunities actually help to slow down the aging process. It helps to fight off bouts of depression and other illnesses. So it's really good for them as individuals.
So Lyncia, I see you look like you have something to say over there, so you have to add.
I've been here before when we talked about the Seniors Enrichment Program, and it's really to empower older persons and to encourage continuous learning and to foster active aging. So like the Mrs. Lewis-Tafari indicated, that they look forward to the events, and like Mrs. Joseph indicated that we had our first event at the History and Heritage in Brimstone Hill, and we had a good turnout of seniors. We had about 154 seniors. And our next event is our Kite Flying Festival. We will have the intergenerational, everybody will be there, right? So we look forward to, the seniors look forward to the activities that we host.
Marecia, it's now to you. Did you feel in any way that the disabled the persons with disability were ignored? They weren't seen until now?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Mostly yes.
Okay.
Because it's persons with disabilities. So let me say that.
Okay.
It's not oftentimes we say, and I've even been corrected, because before being in this position, I used to say disabled persons or disabled person. But I've been corrected by a person with disability, that the term is person with disability.
Persons with disability.
Or person living with a disability. Okay. Some persons, by the way, prefer to be called differently abled, but to be on the safe side, person with disability. Okay. But I say yes because oftentimes when you look at any event or any access to any building, they're excluded. I'm not trying to say anything, but if we were to invite one of them right now, they won't be able to come into the studio. Just the other day, Mrs. Joseph, we asked them, when they go to cricket games, what happened? Like, for instance, a cricket game, and they said they can't, if someone is not wheelchair bound, by the way, someone who uses a wheelchair, they can't drink like me and you. They can't drink water. They can't drink how they want because they won't be able to go to the restroom easily like me and you. So imagine being at a 2, 3, 4 hour event, and so you just stay home, and it happens a lot in other events. So they just stay there. They just put them aside. We just plan because majority of St. Kitts or Kittitians and divisions are a certain way, we plan for them. But for those who are living with a disability, they're okay because it's only a few of them. We leave them out. But I say no because there are already persons who advocate for them out there. So it's not like I'm stepping into an arena where nobody has ever said anything for them. they have their advocates. It's just that sometimes, you know, it gets tiring for them. And of course, once you have more persons to be a voice, then the advocates, it helps them. So yeah, so that's my answer.
Well, here's my question to your answer. So in what ways have you seen successful advocacy? Because you're advocating for them. One of the things that you said, which really struck a nerve with me, is the access to buildings. Not only the access to buildings, we're in the city center on Fort Street last year, and I've seen, and it came up to me perhaps because of the complexion, color of the skin, tourists sometimes wheeling people, and it's very treacherous, it seems. But then you're talking about people who live here day to day, who have to do that day to day. So not only access to bathrooms, but access to buildings. You know, what are we doing on that front to ensure that their voices are heard and that they're included?
We have a lot of work to do.
Partnerships, perhaps?
Yes, I don't want to say we're doing A or B. There's certain things that are being done.
Okay.
Like for instance, remind me, PS, during COVID, during COVID, when persons who have a child with a disability, they got income support. They got the income support for their child. So that's something. There are other things that are being done, but for the most part, we have a lot of work to do.
Well, on that, yes, please go ahead.
But what we have noticed is that there needs to be a lot of awareness. This is something that most persons don't really think about until it affects them or someone close to them. Mrs. Joseph mentioned when we were doing the planning for the youth explosion and we invited the persons with disabilities, the issue of accessible bathrooms came up. And they actually reached out to one of the vendors who provides portable potties. And they're actually now looking at having something created that can be used by persons with disabilities. So there just needs to be more awareness, more sensitivity within the general population. And we're gonna, Mrs. Browne is gonna work with the association and the other stakeholders to ensure that that happens.
That's very good. That is very good. So we're gonna go back now to Miss Andria Caines. How rigorous or how easy is it to screen officers that you supply to the home care or for the home care?
With you, I go to the very nitty gritty. I've been a home care officer coming Sunday 22 years. I take my job very, very serious. I don't polish it up. I tell them straight up what the expectations is, what they're going to meet, how difficult some of the clients could be because of their complaint, their mental capacity. It's not an easy road. I'm not going to say I've seen it all. I've done a lot. I've had experiences over the years where I was hit. I was accused of stealing, and it was not so. So you have to come into this capacity of work with a mindset to expect anything and to do a professional job. This is a mother, a grandfather, uncle, an aunt. So when you leave that person and you go home, you're supposed to be comfortable that a job has been done very well. I take it very seriously. No easy going over. You're coming in to do a good job. Not just to put on the home care uniform, get paid at the end of the month and go home. No. You look good, I look good, my peers look good, the minister look good.
I like that. I like that. Everybody looks good.
Straight up.
Yeah.
So you're coming in, officers out there, you're coming to do a good job, quality service.
I like
That's me.
Okay. I can see
You cannot please everybody. Don't try to please everybody. But once you're satisfied with the service that you give, all is well for me.
I want to delve a little bit now into policies, and Permanent Secretary, I'm understanding that that is your domain. So let's begin by focusing on the National Disability Policy. What can you tell us about that?
There isn't a national disability policy. Some years ago, work would have been done on a special needs policy. However, after that work would have been completed, the government or the country would have gone on to sign and ratify the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So we have now been advised that since we have now become signatory to that convention, we should review the policy. So we're about to start that process shortly, later in the year.
And the youth policy?
The youth policy has been completed. Our minister is currently reviewing it, and it should be sent to cabinet for approval before mid-year.
I see Sahira there shaking her head like,
Yes. So we're going to put those policies in place to help to guide the work in these particular areas.
It seems very exciting. And there's also, well, is there an elderly abuse policy?
No, there isn't an elderly abuse policy. And from our interaction, our daily work, we're seeing the need for there to be protections for older persons. There's a lot of abuse that older persons are being exposed to, financial, physical, emotional. It's heartbreaking when you think about it. And we do need to have those protections in place. Just as we protect children, we can't have older persons who have contributed to our economy, to our community. And then when they are vulnerable, you basically kick them while they're down.
Exactly.
We need to ensure that persons can age in dignity and they can continue to feel respected, and what they have worked for all their lives is protected and not stolen from them.
So go ahead, Jake.
No, if I can, because this is something that's touching on what you said as well. In order to ensure that that dignity is maintained, it's important to have this transgenerational relationship. So how do you foresee the new ministry fostering that relationship or those relationships?
Well, from a ministerial standpoint, we have been trying to plan our programs that would include all of our target populations. It allows them a chance to get to know each other, to understand their similarities, their differences, and accept each other.
And fun fact, we had intergenerational collaboration in the youth department the whole time, even before we became a ministry. So we would have partnered with private bodies like Access Hope Social Club. So we've done a lot of work with them. So Miss Payne and the whole of them. I mean, we have an awesome relationship already. So there was already work being done intergenerationally. Right? So no stranger.
And we've been working with the Ministry of Education. So when we do birthday celebrations for older persons, we do have school children who would visit the older person and they interact with the person. They ask the older person's question. They get little tidbits on how they themselves may eventually get to the age of the older person.
Indeed. So how was the launch? Was it a big fanfare? What can you tell us about that?
Well, the launch was a big event. We consider it to be something huge for the Federation. We were going to the list of who needs to be there. But because what we do is so important, so vital, and we need everybody to partner with us, we realized we could not invite everybody physically. So we had to unfortunately resort to join us via Zoom.
That's the way to go. We don't mind. You're saving us a little dress up there. Yeah. Okay.
So you launched on February 20th. You've been giving us a sense of what we can expect long term. What are those short term goals perhaps that you have that we'll be able to say, well, the ministry is moving within the next year by December perhaps? What are you doing respective?
We are going to be finalizing the youth policy, having it tabled in Parliament, and then that policy is going to guide all the various institutions in how we address young persons. We are going to be submitting to the UN our initial report for the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Mrs. Browne and her stakeholders are currently reviewing the draft document, so that should be submitted this year to the UN. In terms of aging, we are going to be launching 3 senior social clubs in 3 communities, East Bastille, St. Peter's, and St. Paul's. That would be done this month. We do have some new activities added to our calendar, which Miss Dore and Miss Caines can explain. Yes.
So 3 social clubs, 3 senior social clubs. That sounds very exciting. I think you're branching out into different areas as well. Can you tell us how they will function? Is it that the elderly will come to these clubs at specific times of day, or how does that work? Mrs. Caines. The social clubs, how would they work? Do you know?
Different social clubs.
The hours of operation. Anything like that?
I would prefer Ms. Dore to answer the question. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Dore. Yes.
We're planning to start at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So what we would have is morning devotion before they start, and then we would have facilitators, and then we go into the continuous learning. For example, in March, we're going to have kite making around the different centers, so that on April 11th, we're going to have our kite flying festival, where we have our intergenerational to attend. Yes.
You said continuous learning, so they're doing arts and crafts, and what other areas, and what will the facilitators that you mentioned be coming in to speak to the elderly about?
Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to have different stakeholders. For example, we were discussing yesterday, how can the Ministry of Trade and Consumer Affairs speak on consumer awareness, consumer protection? So what we are doing is targeting different stakeholders within private or public, so that the older persons can have knowledge and continuous knowledge of what's happening in St. Kitts and Nevis.
That's nice. That's nice. I like that.
I feel some energy coming from you of excitement. There's just this energy coming. I don't know if it's emanating through the screen right now. You seem very passionate about the work that you're doing. You're very excited to be part of this new ministry that's collaborating for the public good. If I could ask you to summarize the importance of your work collectively for the public, this is something I'd like perhaps each of you to do. What would you say? Yes, I love how this is going, because again, it's a new ministry, so people perhaps might have some questions, and so they want to hear it from you.
What I would love the general public to know about us is that, and not because I'm a part of it, I feel like we have the right people in the right places. In order to take care of our elderly, our youth, and our disabled, you must have heart. So I am sitting next to a bunch of awesome human beings. I just met her. Miss Lewis, I can't remember how I met her, but Marecia was my CARICOM ambassador some years ago. So, but you feel it. You just mentioned that you feel it. You are looking at all heart, and we aspire to be better, and we aspire to do an awesome job. Sometimes Madam Youth Director pops over in disabled, and I'm trying to see how I could fix disabled, because when I heard that they hear our programs that we have and they want to come, but they just can't come, that breaks me. And I'm like, and I went to them and I said, listen, I'm gonna make you a promise. We're all gonna be outside this year. And I mean it, and the team means it. So it's a bunch of beautiful people, and we're about to do a lot of beautiful things for a lot of beautiful, deserving people, and that's a promise. So
well, for me, like Mrs. Joseph just said, we are all working together to see how we can empower our different population and our vulnerable populations. So like it's a very, very good team, and I enjoy. Just last night I was watching the interview that I did 4 months ago on Studio 327, and I said, if the Aging and Disability Unit would like my help, I'll be more than happy to assist. And hi, it's God's work that I'm now the coordinator.
There you go.
Yes.
And I can see, as Sahira would have said, the joy emanating out of your face. Yes. Nice.
Based on the elderly, the senior citizens, they are very excited and looking forward to all the activities. We have a prom coming up, and they are speaking about the address. Yes. 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 We are also traveling over to our sister island, Nevis. They look forward to all the activities. So trust me, the excitement is in the air. I'm looking forward to going. They're looking forward to be outside. You know, that's our team. Be outside.
Everybody's outside.
To have fun.
I like that.
Just promise me that you're going to send us the pictures of the prom king and queen. If you have.
Madam Lewis, give me a reminder, please. Thank you. Yes.
That.
It's a whole bunch of excitement. We have the flyer here. We'll leave with you guys to advertise for us. But going forward, the kite flying is another exciting activity. Nice. We're just looking forward to having fun with the seniors.
As you should.
Yes.
Of disability services, what I very much appreciate from my colleagues is that the events that they have planned, let's say for instance they have something planned and they want to incorporate 200 persons, they're going to come to me and they're going to say, Marecia, okay, so how many should we allot to persons with disabilities? They don't ever leave us out. All right, and so I appreciate that. Thank you. And I just want the general public to be aware that this year we're gonna do a whole lot of awareness. I recently realized that the awareness is not just gonna come from us telling the public these are regular persons like me and you, but I now notice that I don't want to say I have to, but I noticed that it has to start with us convincing them, as in the persons living with disabilities, that they are regular too. Because I noticed that even though they want to be heard, there's a shyness within them, so they're afraid to come out. You know, so it's going to take some convincing to them, and then it's going to take some convincing, of course, to the general public that here we are. And that means we're going to have a whole heap of meetings and discussions with private sector and public sector. So when we send you that nice letter inviting you to something, please come or send a representative. Don't ignore us, and we can get things done. Even though a lot of the things are major, like some major changes have to be made, as Ms. Lewis said some time ago, it's about the low-hanging fruit. So there's small things that you can change, and for now, that's what we need, because those small steps they are the ones that make the big, things happen. So we're gonna come knock in and just open your door, okay?
Please do.
Yeah.
And Madam Permanent Secretary, final word.
Okay. To bring it all together, as the country moves towards trying to attain the Sustainable Development Goals, we have to ensure that everybody, every single citizen and resident can benefit from our accomplishments. We have to recognize the value that everybody can give, the contribution that they can make. If we don't, then we end up, the successes are hollow, because persons will still be marginalized. They're not able to appreciate what has been accomplished. It's not a real thing that you've achieved if 40% of your population is still impoverished, is still not able to access opportunities, if they can't even go to enjoy World Cup cricket 2020, if they can't go to the music festivals, etc., if they can't get meaningful employment, if they're at home feeling depressed because nobody comes to visit them, nobody cares about them, they're being abused and nobody's hearing them, then we failed. So we need to look at the larger picture to make sure everybody is a part of that trust towards the Sustainable Development Goals and objectives.